Welcome to another episode of Will It Work? Today we're looking at the Colorgame Pong system. And like all of these Pong systems, they are pretty limited in their features, but this is a very early one. Again, we just have a one-player or two-player mode off on, and what appears to be a game selector. So it may be that this has more than the usual 4 games on it, but considering the controllers, there's only 2. I'm thinking it's not maybe overly full-featured, although I'm thinking we have a serve button here, which is a nice upgrade to a lot of the early Pong systems that we see, because at best we've seen reset buttons, but I got a feeling that's not a reset button. It is probably a serve button, and we have an external control here, so maybe a more late addition. I don't know who made this one, as the sticker on the bottom is not there. Not sure if this is even American, could be from the UK. I guess we're going to try and find out here in a minute. And I'm going to put it on the video and see if I can get a display out of this or not. And we'll see what kind of Pong system it is, if it's in color, if it keeps score, etc., and kind of go from there. So I'm going to switch over now to the video, or I'm going to switch right back to here, depending on if I can get video out or not. Hang tight. All right, so here we are looking at the Colorgame. As is typical, we're going to get some static here. These old RF signals are not great. You know, looking at the back of this console, it does kind of look like the adversary console that I looked at earlier. That was made by General Instruments, I think. And General Instruments, I believe that's their name, but I'm going off the top of my head right now. They design the microchips that most of these Pong games work on, and I think that like that one model, that adversary model I had mentioned, was very similar to a Heathkit model where you would build your own Pong, and it looks like this Colorgame, based on the back of it, is very similar. It has the 2 screws on the back for connecting to a very old TV, and it has the same sort of input power at 12 volts, and everything is laid out the same in the back. And we do have a color display. I believe sound for this will actually come out of the unit itself. I'm not hearing any immediate static, which is good. And my phone's making noise over here. And so, assuming you had more of a cleaner signal when this first came out, this is probably a pretty good clone. It definitely has a score being kept. Now let's try the game selection button here. See what happens. Well, that didn't. What happened there? Okay, that looks like maybe standard Pong. That's probably handball. I'm not sure what you would even call this. So going into 2-player mode, let me see if I can. It's like maybe the controls are a little bit, they may need some cleaning and tuning up here. Try to bring up the other one. It's not unusual at the age these are. So it's like those balls in the middle are like some kind of blocker, which I haven't seen before, and I couldn't get that adversary to work. I had opened it up, and it looked like it was just burnt out, basically. I reassembled it, but I think it's trash. I'm going to look for the Heathkit eventually. They sell adversaries online, not rare. So just a bit expensive for a Pong. You know, you can get one in the box and everything for around $200. You know, and it does do a number of things that are unique for what it is, in the sense that it had sound coming through the RF, and there's some stuff with the ball movement, and you know, when you bounce it back and forth like 5 times, it picks up speed, which is a different variation. You don't see that in the standard Pong. It's in color, and you know, it had detachable controllers and things. So it was a good evolution of Pong, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And as we look at these things, we kind of see how they start off very basic and then move more and more towards becoming full-featured. And we haven't yet looked at the most basic, which is the Odyssey. We will try to get that to work, though that is, you know, 50 years old. It's going to be a stretch to get that thing going, but we'll see, maybe. And as well as, like, probably one of the latest of the systems, which would be maybe the Odyssey 4000, although I do have some other ones that probably run on the same type of chip. You know, you'll see the 4-player with the more advanced controls that kind of evolved into what became joysticks, and you know, what became out of the arcades, etc. So let's just see if we can get this to serve. Yep. So it is a serve button. Now, I can't tell if we have sound here or not. I'm going to turn my sound on, so you might hear it twice. Let me move the controls down, because that's not helping, that they're way out of... There's some delay here. So I'm not sure why we're not hearing sound now. It could just be that the sound audio is not tuned right. But usually you would hear static, and we're not hearing static. So there seems like there would be an audio track here, but we're simply not hearing it. Oh, I know why. You know what? When I do these other Pongs, and I show you guys these, I actually disconnect the audio cable so you guys don't hear the static. And that's why it's so quiet. I'm like, maybe this is some feature that's like it's all quiet. Let's see if we hear static or sound. Yeah. So if you've been following this sound for a Pong game coming out of the actual RF is rare up until this point. And, you know, it's a feature that obviously was probably more desired than the unit itself, because you can control the volume on your TV, where you can't really control the volume on these old Pongs, and some of them are pretty loud. So, you know, fairly cool. Let's go ahead and shut that off, because I'm sure you're hearing it twice. Turn it down for you. Yeah. And so, you know, it's a decent little Pong system. You know, just like the Adversary, though, this does not take batteries because it's 12 volts. So that is the one oddball thing about both this and this Colorgame and the Adversary, is that, you know, it's not a battery taking machine. It's you know, because it's running on a 12 volts. 12 volts is kind of interesting, though, because, you know, on one hand you think, well, you know, a lot of people probably want the battery version of it for some reason. You know, I'm not quite sure why. Maybe just to save an outlet in the house. I mean, who wanted to buy batteries or something? I don't know. But 12 volts is the same power that you're going to have in, like, your car or a boat or like an RV or something. So, you know, there's some utility there in the sense of, you know, if you have one like a van or something and you wanted to put a TV in there and connect up a Pong game and play with your friends or something, or, you know, you could do something with the 12 volt capacity. But I'm just saying, like, let's just be serious. Like, there's no real big difference between running the 12 volt Pong or like the 9-volt or the 6-volt Pong for most people, right? Almost everybody probably got the adapter. Most of the Pongs that I've seen, people have used the adapters with them. Running them on batteries is just I don't know what the deal is with the batteries. Like, I remember being a kid in the 70s. I was really little, and in the early 80s, and everything ran on batteries. Like, batteries was the thing. Like, every toy that was electronic, every game that was electronic, everything was just like batteries, 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 batteries. And I don't know, man. It almost seems like, the battery companies went to these toy manufacturers and were like, hey, you guys want to help us sell batteries, then don't include a plug in your game. But I think maybe it's also just an expense, right? An adapter at the time was probably somewhat expensive. They're heavy. They were bigger back then, maybe because in a lot of cases, they hadn't come up with the microelectronics to, regulate them better or whatever it was. But for whatever reason, power bricks and things were much larger in many cases. And so that would be added weight, added space in the box. And, you also had the cost of just building the thing. And so you would have to, add that all up and put it in with whatever your game was. And I think that probably, by getting the manufacturing of adapters down to something very cheap, game companies and things found that rather than putting, batteries not included, they just, allowed the devices to plug in many cases going forward. And so these days it's rare to find something that either doesn't have a plug, or it has a rechargeable battery these days, and some sort of USB charging adapter or something. Or, a lot of things don't even come with adapters anymore. They just come with the cords, because they're just figuring, like, you probably already have 50 adapters. You can think what you want about that. Sometimes I think if you're going to spend $1,000 on a phone, they better include a plug, right? Because if you're being cheap and just including just the USB wire rather than the plug on like $1,000 phone, I wouldn't buy that phone. Like, unless I really wanted that phone, but I would probably write something. I would deduct a star or something from my review of the phone, because the company was too cheap to put in an adapter, especially when adapters cannot cost that much with the way we have all these things being assembled overseas now, as well as domestically. I mean, with modern manufacturing and all of the machinery we have, it's just insane to think that they can't include a cheap plug to help people charge their phones. Now, if you're buying like a $200 phone or something less, and they wanted to kind of stay competitive in that very inexpensive market, I can kind of understand that, because that can be a little bit competitive when people are looking and saying, well, I don't want to spend more than $200 on a phone. You got one here that's $200, or you got one that's like $205 or something, because that one's got an adapter. I don't know. You're still going to end up buying one, right? Unless you already have one. But anyway, getting off topic here. Colorgame, it works. It's a keeper. It looks to me like it's probably an adversary clone, but I can't say that for sure because I didn't get the adversary to work. But we'll see. I do have the Heath kit, which is identical, and we'll see if it's similar. This is the first one I've seen with these sort of, I don't know, these blockers or whatever you want to call it in the game, so that's fairly unique to me. And it looks like there's like 3 games here. Yeah, it looks like it's just a 3-game system, and that's it. And the reset button, no, the game selector is a little bit loose. It seems to just be running through these things. Yep, so that's it. So now there's 2 on the left and 1 on the right. What's going on there? Is that just a glitch? What's going on? Oh, it's the score, 13. Can't help it. It looks like 2 bars. I was like freaking out. All right. I'm not stoned or anything. It's just been a long day. I've been working. Thanks for watching, and we'll move on to the next one. That was the Colorgame. Have a good one.